Today, I'm going to show you how to find 100x altcoin gems. This is my full step-by-step guide for researching and finding 100x altcoins which could set your portfolio alight. All of these strategies I personally use to find altcoin gems, and it's worked wonders for me personally in the past, so I wanted to share these tricks with you to help you find massive gainers in 2024. So today's video is going to be split into two parts. Firstly, I'm going to show you my full method for finding altcoins with 100x potential. This will be on both a low and a high time frame. And then I'm going to show you, once you've found those altcoins, how you can research them to verify that they are a good investment. Because there's really two parts when it comes to finding successful altcoins. It's one, identifying them, and then two, you go through a filtration process. I'm going to give you my full checklist for how I conduct this in order to find coins that actually have massive upside potential. And if you do enjoy content like this, I'm sure you're going to enjoy what I've got in store for you over the next fortnight. Just a quick rundown of some of the videos I've got landing on this channel over the next couple of weeks. This week, I've got my full Celestia airdrop guide. It's an ecosystem I'm extremely bullish on. Then I've got a guide that's going to show you how to make money in crypto if you don't have much starting capital. So some tools and methods that you can use to actually make crypto essentially for free. I'm also doing a video on my top sectors for 2024. There are 3 sectors in particular that I really like. And then I'm going to show you how to actually farm airdrops. If you've been struggling with airdrop farming or find it overwhelming, I'm going to do a video which gives you my custom spreadsheet for how I actually go about my airdrop farming process. So it's not another video where I give you a bunch of airdrops that you can go out and farm. That video will be focused purely on strategy for actually farming them. So if any of these videos over the next fortnight sound interesting, make sure to click that subscribe button to get access to the latest crypto alpha, and also make sure to click that notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. There's going to be tons of alpha coming on this channel over the next few weeks, and I can't wait to share those videos with you. But I hope today can be one of the most useful guides out of all of them, because this method I've seen not only work for me, but many others who have been able to make crazy 50, 60, 70, 100x multiples on altcoins, specifically low caps, by implementing the methods I'm going to talk about in today's video. Before we get into the method, if you do need an exchange to purchase any of these altcoins on, because you're going to need an exchange that gives you the latest crypto listings in order to capitalize, then you can check out BitGet using the link in the description. Now is actually an amazing time to sign up because there's 2 current promotions that are live. One promotion is only live for the next 2 days, so if you're watching this video as soon as it's uploaded, you're in luck, because they have their official 2024 advent calendar promotion still running, which allows you to win your share of a $500,000 countdown box every single day. All you need to do is register for a new account using the link in the description and then complete your daily check-in. But if you're watching after that campaign has ended, don't worry. Using the link in the description, you will also get access to BitGet's official rewards program, which enables you to claim a welcome pack of up to $1,000 for completing basic tasks like signing up, conducting your verification, depositing for the first time, and opening a trade for the first time. So if you do want to sign up, you can use the link in the description to earn those rewards and also help support the channel. Now let's get on with the video. I have lots of alpha in store today. Can't wait to share my method with you. Okay, so as I said before, this strategy is really divided up into 2 parts. There's the identification phase, which is where you try and find hot altcoin sectors and then try and identify altcoins under those sectors. And then there is the second phase, which is primarily focused on vetting those altcoins to find real 100x opportunities. So step 1 is basically looking for the trending narratives, chains, and sectors in the market. There are 2 very simple tools that I use to find hot trending narratives and sectors. I guess one of the unofficial tools that I do use is simply being on Twitter all the time, right? I'm super active on social media. I'm in lots of Telegram chats, groups, etc. So I kind of get a feel for the narratives that are starting to trend maybe before prices reflected in the market. But if you're not on Twitter all the time and you don't have much time to research, and you only have a limited amount of time to research every single week, then the simplest way to spot new trending narratives, chains, and sectors is simply just to go onto a website like CoinGecko or coin market cap and go to the top crypto categories by market cap section. Here, you'll be able to sort by weekly performance to see the ecosystems that are performing the best in any given period. This can give you a feel for the strongest trends in the market. For example, right now, some of the strongest ecosystems are the injective ecosystem, BRC20, which is the Bitcoin Ordinal Standard, modular blockchains, farming as a service, and move to earn. These are some of the strongest narratives this week. If you see a narrative consistently in the top gainers over a period of a few weeks, this is a great signal that you have a trending narrative on your hands. Another way to catch trends is by monitoring where net flows are going on chain. What I like to do to quantify this is by looking at TVL growth on DeFi Llama across a variety of chains. So if you go into DeFi Llama, then you scroll down and you click on 1 month change or 1 week change, you can see the ecosystems which are experiencing the most growth. For this month, the strongest grower was actually Manta, which is an L2, which is currently conducting a big airdrop, which I've spoken about in the past. You can also go onto the weekly and see some of the other chains that have been significantly rising in TVL. Say Network is one of them, and this is one that I'm going to talk about in just a second because it was an ecosystem where I actually managed to conduct this strategy to hit a very profitable altcoin trade over the last couple of weeks. So all you're doing here is looking for hot trending narratives and chains. Once you have the hot narratives and once you have the hot chains, then the next step is to find the lower cap crypto altcoins underneath these sectors or in these ecosystems. The ecosystems with the most interest and with the most capital flowing into them oftentimes lead to the best price performers, specifically in the short term. I also have a way to apply this strategy to more long-term investments, which I'll show you in just a minute. But especially in the short term, when you see liquidity consistently flowing into an ecosystem, typically that is where you're going to get your strongest performers. We've seen the same thing happen with the recent meme coin rallies, for example, on Solana. Once the ball started to get rolling with a meme coin like Bonk, many of the other memes started to explode. So if you were looking at the top gainers during that period, then you could have caught onto the meme coin wave, and then you could apply the steps I'm about to show you now to actually execute on those trades. So just looking for strength in the market is super powerful, especially when it comes to short to mid-term trading. Longer term, you have to be slightly more cognizant of future catalysts and narratives, which I'll get into later. So the next step is to dive into the ecosystem. Once you've found a hot chain or a hot narrative or sector, now you want to go down the risk curve in that ecosystem to find the low caps. Because today's video is not about finding the next Say or Solana or Injective or Celestia. It's about finding the altcoins underneath those ecosystems which can exhibit massive gains. Because let's be realistic, a lot of the majors in this market, although risk reward wise, they can be fantastic holds, they're not going to give you those massive gains. So today's video is for the people that genuinely want a shot at finding these massive performers. I've done my portfolio video a couple of weeks ago. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check that out. That gave you a lot of larger cap coins, but I still got a lot of comments saying, look, Miles, I like these coins, but I'm not going to make much money in these coins. I only have $1,000 to invest. I can't afford to put all my money into these larger caps, and I completely understand that sentiment, and that's the reason why I'm making today's video. So if you want a video on how to find majors, this isn't for you. This video is for the degens. So I'm going to show you an example of how I conducted this strategy to actually find an altcoin pump just in the last week. So what I did is I went onto CoinGecko and I looked at the top blockchains by total value locked. The way you can get onto this tab is if you're starting on categories, you simply need to click on chains. This will filter it not necessarily by sectors, but by chains as well, because I believe this strategy can be applied to either of the two. Then what I did is I went onto the top weekly and the top monthly gainers, and I noticed that Say Network was gaining momentum. I also saw a few other ecosystems were gaining momentum, but the reason why I liked Say is because of this over here. It has 12 coins on the ecosystem. Things like Scroll, Boba, and Manta, they don't have many coins, which means not that many low caps for me to actually go and research. So the Say ecosystem, the Metis ecosystem, even the Linear ecosystem, these are the slightly more interesting sectors for me because there are actually coins that you can trade. So it's very important to look at that number of coins column as well. So what I did is I went onto Say and I noticed one of the tokens, which was Kryptonite or Sailor, really outperforming in price. I saw it was up over 50% for the week at the time, and it was up massively on the day. And I knew the ecosystem was hot. I knew because of the DeFi Llama growth and the growth in terms of price and volume that money was going into the Say ecosystem, so I started researching this coin further. And what I actually do is I make a list of 4 or 5 coins under each hot narrative, and then I use the checklist, which I'm going to show you in part 2, to determine which one I'll actually invest in. So for example, if I know I like Say, and I know momentum's there, and I want to catch the next proxy bet in the ecosystem, I'll make a note of the 3 tokens underneath that ecosystem. For example, it could be Sailor, Saiyan, and Sado, and then I'll go and research each of these coins, put them through my rigorous checklist process, which I'll show you, and then determine which one is the best investment. I'm not saying you should buy Say now, by the way. I'm using this as a retroactive example as to a successful altcoin trade that I made last week. And as you can see here, I actually texted my friend on WhatsApp at the time. I said if Say's the big rotation, their LSD, so the liquid staking derivative, which is Sailor, is listed on Bybit underneath the Sailor ticker. And this is, you can't really see it here, when the price was 1 cent. Now the price of the coin is sitting at 12 cents, and it went even higher to 14 or 15 cents over the last day or so. So that was effectively a 10x in a week. And if you give these enough time, these kind of coins can do 100x's, as the title of this video suggests, and 10x in a week is nothing to snuff at. So that's how I identified that coin before I put it through my checklist process. Something else you can do is if you find a hot chain, it doesn't need to be Say, it can be anything that's hot at the time, Injective, Celestia, any chain that's performing well, you can go onto Dex tools, and I like to do this in conjunction to CoinGecko because CoinGecko only has the major listings. Sometimes I want to find the lesser known coins that aren't listed on any major exchanges. What I'll do is I'll scroll down on Dex tools, I'll go into the top gainers because I want to see what tokens have momentum. Then I'll click on chain, and then I'll sort by the chain that I'm researching. For example, if I'm researching meme coins on Solana like I was a few weeks ago, I click on Solana, then I click on filter, and then I try and look at some of the hottest coins in that ecosystem. And I also add some extra filters because there's a lot of crap that comes up. Things can pump and artificially get added to this list. So I like to put in minimum custom filters to sort by a minimum of 10k liquidity and also a minimum of 100k in market cap. This removes a lot of the smaller coins that tend to populate this list in an artificial manner. So I add those filters, and then I can also spot coins which are slightly lower cap. So you can do this for any ecosystem or sector that interests you. So that is how I would get a list together for a sector, chain, or a hot narrative in the short term. But this strategy also applies for the long term, except the metrics that you use to substantiate which coins you're finding are over a longer time horizon. So instead of looking at weekly performance, you would be looking at things like monthly performance and yearly performance. So if you know a trend is going to be around in 6 months, and you're really bullish on a future narrative, that could be real-world assets, that could be AI, that could be GameFi, as you can see in front of you, then you can apply this exact same method. You would go onto the category section of a sector like GameFi, and you would scroll down the list in terms of market caps, because if you're trying to hit 100x, you're probably not going to get it. If you're really bullish on crypto gaming, you're not going to get it in this top 5, this top 10. You might get a 10, 20, even 30x if you're lucky, but you realistically aren't going to get it above 100 mil. You want to go below 100 mil, and what you can do is you can start looking for coins below 100 million, and maybe even in the 10 to 50 million dollar range is where you can hit those big performers that have been showing some strength, some interest in the market. And this tool on the right here on CoinGecko actually shows you relative strength wise how coins are holding up, so you can compare them to their peers and see if there are any coins that are actually gaining momentum against the trend. So I like to use this and filter to find lower market cap coins in long-term sectors, and if I can find those outliers, then I can also move these on to the next step of the process, which is of course the checklist, and the checklist is everything. So let me give you a summary of phase 1, and then we'll move into phase 2, which is the most important part. So the summary is you find a hot narrative, chain, or ecosystem, you look at things like TVL flow, volume, and price performance, as I just showed you how to do. Then you go down the risk curve to find the lower cap altcoins that are showing signs of strength underneath that hot ecosystem. And once you've done that, you should come out of that with a list of altcoins for any given narrative. You don't need to try and force a trade, but when there is a hot narrative, then you can refer back to this video and follow these steps. For example, in a week, if you're noticing there is a new trend for modularity in crypto, then you could apply this trend to a blockchain like Celestia or Manta, when apps start to deploy on that network. So it's super effective and powerful to implement this train of thought. And trust me, this is what all the big traders and investors are doing in the market to try and catch these big gainers. They're looking at the hot ecosystems, either the hot ones now or ecosystems they know will be hotter in the future, like crypto gaming. They're going down the risk curve, they're identifying outliers, and then they're researching those to see if there are any hidden gems underneath those sectors. And that's how you actually make big profits in crypto, not just investing in the large caps. Once you have a list of these small caps, and they might look like nothing to you, they literally just might look like tickers with some decent price performance at this stage because you don't know anything about them. Now it's onto the checklist to find out things about them. Not going to cover the basics for you in today's video. Obviously, when you come across a token, the first thing you should do is look at their website, look at their white paper, try and find out what they're doing, go onto their Twitter, just get an understanding for what they do. Once you have an understanding for what they do, then you can move on to this checklist, which will give you some strategies to be able to evaluate whether these projects actually have 100x potential or not. The first one, which isn't officially in this checklist, is simply to compare it to other coins in the same ecosystem under the same niche. So if it's an LSD protocol, see if there are other LSD protocols in that niche. If there aren't, like in the case of Say Network, like I showed you, look at the top valuations of the top LSD protocols in other sectors. So if the biggest LSD protocol on Say is worth 10 million, and then the biggest LSD protocol on Arbitrum's worth $1 billion, then that gives you some sort of basis for a relative valuation. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to catch up, because they may not have some of the parameters in place that made the Arbitrum coin pump, but what it does mean is that you have some sort of gauge as to the price potential of a token. You can do the same within a similar sector. So if you're looking at crypto gaming, for example, and you know Gala's got a $2 billion market cap, and you're looking at a new crypto gaming studio, which has a lot of amazing titles and a very strong brand behind it, and it's sitting at 50 million, well, if it succeeds, you know it has that potential to go up to 2 billion. The most important thing when it comes to crypto investing is understanding relative valuations, because this market isn't that rational. It tends to not necessarily price tokens based on their intrinsic value. It loves to price tokens based on the price of other tokens. So if Ethereum is valued at 200 billion, then Solana, for example, has a price ceiling, at least on a relative basis, of 200 billion because Ethereum is priced that way. And it's the same thing across a variety of sectors. Crypto tends to arise its valuations, especially for newer protocols, based on the existing valuations of other protocols. So that's a kind of an unofficial part of the checklist, but that's a great way that I like to think when it comes to crypto. Once you've looked at the project, you know what it is, you know what the potential is by looking at similar projects. Now it's time to vet the team. I can't stress this enough, but projects are real businesses. You need to treat them like real businesses. Now, if a real business has a crappy leader, it's probably not going to succeed. If a business has a great leader, even if the product isn't great, that leader is often going to be able to steer that product to success by implementing the necessary changes. At the end of the day, businesses are people. This is Apple, Amazon, Facebook, all the biggest businesses in the world. They are brand names. They have brand power. But at the end of the day, the people behind them that created those products, that's what makes the products special. And that's what keeps the products going and ticking. Now in crypto, it's actually even more important than the real world because the industry is so adaptive. Things move so quickly. It's so fast paced. So you really need a team that's adaptive, able to stay on track of the latest trends and developments, and also navigate the really tricky crypto market. So in the past, when I did my research checklist and I was researching altcoins, I used to really overcomplicate it. I used to get super technical and run all these thought experiments and discounted cash flow models and look at the fee generation compared to its counterparts. And although that stuff's still great, and I do that as some additional research, what I've narrowed it down to a lot of the time now when I'm researching, especially when I'm really busy, is just, does it have a good team? Is the team competent? Do they have past experience? Have they launched any previous projects? Because if they do have the experience and they're a competent team and you like what you're hearing from the team, then oftentimes that's what's going to end up making a project successful. So I'll show you exactly how I research this. I'll use the example for a new project, which I actually recently invested in, and that's Subsquid. So when I was doing my research behind investing in this token, this is the exact process that I went through. The first thing I did, obviously, is understand what it is. So I went onto their website. I did a lot of research into it. Firstly, I affirmed that I liked it. I also did that relative valuation model like I just talked to you about. They're essentially an indexing protocol. So I had a really good reference point, which is the graph, which is at a $1.7 billion valuation as the potential upside for the protocol. And then off the back of that, I wanted to make sure the team was good. So what I did is I researched the team, I went onto their website, I read their Medium articles, I found the founder, and I looked up the founder on LinkedIn. This is a tip that you can actually use. You can use LinkedIn for crypto research. Actually, it's amazing to find, founders with past experience. And I looked at what this guy's background was. I noticed he had a background in development. I really love founders that have, a technical background. I saw he was super proficient at mathematics. He was a chief scientist at Helix. Then he went on to Hydra as a core developer, and then he ended up co-founding Subsquid, and he's super highly qualified with his education. So this was an example of some of the basic due diligence I did into the team at the time. And then what I did, and this is so important, perhaps the most important part of this vet the team part of the checklist, I go and I listen to AMAs. AMAs are literally gold. There is so much stuff that project founders and leaders will say in AMAs that they will just not make public on other mediums. And they'll also give you a really nice insight and nuance into the project, and you can get a feel for their leadership. So to understand a project's team better, what I love to do is go onto YouTube and Twitter via Twitter Spaces to see if they've conducted any AMAs. In the case of Subsquid, when I was doing my research, I saw that they had an AMA. So I went and I watched this AMA, and it was absolutely amazing. It told me about the vision of the team, how the project was founded. Marcel actually tells the entire story about how he met Dimitri and how their vision ended up growing. Then they go into the tokenomics. They talk about some of the listings on major exchanges. They give some alpha there. Then they talk about token utility, visions, etc. This is a great way for you to get to know the team without getting to know the team. And this is the awesome part about crypto. Because of the community that we have in crypto, there's so many amazing channels and content providers that actually publish and post AMAs and podcasts that you simply wouldn't get access to in the traditional business world. Use this to your advantage when you're researching a project. Listen to the AMAs. There's lots of gold, and you may decide a project's not for you. You might listen to an AMA. You might say, look, the team doesn't really sound that driven. They sound even confused about their own business model. Or in the case of Subsquid, I watched the AMA. I was actually super impressed, and I went, okay, the team definitely ticks the boxes for me. So this is just one example that I'm using. You could apply this to any project, but I wanted to contextualize it with an actual project here. And this is the most important step for me when it comes to my project checklist. Now, just quickly on the topic of Subsquid, because some of you might be wondering what it is that I actually invested in. Essentially, Subsquid is a Web3 data lake. So think of it like the graph. It's an indexing protocol that is essentially a peer-to-peer network to batch, query, and aggregate data on-chain and off-chain in a very efficient way. They generate data availability for apps at a low cost and with blazing fast speed. And as I mentioned before, I looked at the graph. I know the potential that this industry has. Not much innovation has happened in the data indexing space, so it's always great to see new players come in. And it actually fits this video because this video is talking about finding projects lower down the risk curve that have substantive bases for valuing them. And something like the graph gave me that basis. I'm going down the risk curve with a project like Subsquid in a similar niche that can offer strong upside potential. Now, if you do want to get involved, their official token sale is occurring on January 18th via CoinList. So what you will need to do if you're interested in getting involved is register now, and I'll also leave a link in the description so you can register just straight via there if you're interested in it. So it's a new token, it's just launching, it's not actually on the market yet. For full transparency, I've already secured an allocation. I'll always be transparent about the projects that I'm personally invested in, and if you want to take part in it, there's a link in the description. So now let's move on to the other 3 steps of my checklist. Number 2 is the tokenomics. Tokenomics are the most important aspect of the token apart from who is actually leading that token. Because even great projects, if the token doesn't accrue value efficiency, well, then the price won't rise, and it can be gaining all the users in the world, but if the token doesn't gain in price, then your investment doesn't perform well. So it's very important to make sure the token has a strong use case and utility within a given ecosystem, and also look into the specifics, like where are the tokens being distributed? Is it a highly centralized distribution model? And are there any big unlocks? Are you about to get dumped on by a bunch of VCs and insiders that are getting their tokens unlocked? And to research all of this, I love using a website like Token Unlocks, where you can scroll down, click on a coin, and actually see its vesting schedule. So when tokens are unlocking, who they're being unlocked to, so you can make sure that you're not getting dumped on essentially. So for GMX, for example, you can see most of their supply is already unlocked, which is good, but there are linear unlocks that are currently occurring. So tokenomics, super, super important. I'll probably do a full deep dive video on this in the future, but that's the next thing you want to research before you invest in one of these coins. Number 3 is research where it's listed. Is it on any tier 1 exchanges? If it's not, but it has strong volume on Uniswap, and you can verify this via DEX Tools or CoinGecko or another DEX, there's a strong chance that it will get listed because exchanges want volume. So the tokens that are doing the most volume on the DEXs, exchanges want a slice of that pie. So oftentimes they will launch that token. So if you see an uptick, definitely take note of it, because once tokens get major exchange listings, that's when they tend to pump in price. You can see whether a token's listed on an exchange by searching it up on CoinGecko, clicking on markets, and you can see the DEXs or the centralized exchanges that it's currently offered on. I like to usually go for tokens that have one maybe major tier 2 listing, so a lower tier exchange, and a major DEX listing, but don't yet have a tier 1. This for me is the perfect combination for low cap investing. But you may find some of the slightly higher priced low to mid caps, and even Sailor at the time had a tier 1 listing like Bybit or BitGet, then it's still okay. That's not a reason I won't invest, but just know that at that point the token's probably a lot more well known than when you go down the risk curve even further to these tokens that aren't listed on major exchanges. So there's different risk profiles when it comes to those two different types of investments. Aside from the team being super strong, the other thing I like to verify is whether the community is super strong. So in crypto, community is a very important constituent of success, because even the best products, without the right marketing, without the right push behind them, without the right people talking about them, they simply can't succeed. So ask yourself, are the big Twitter and YouTube creators talking about it? Are you seeing it being posted about and talked about online? Are the Twitter posts or the YouTube posts or the Medium articles being engaged with or viewed by a lot of people? So look at the actual project's Twitter account and see whether there's a lot of engagement on their posts. Engagement can be botted, but in general, it's a good way to see if there's a community, and I often like to read the comments to see whether people are engaging as well. Also, look at the size of their Discord and Telegram communities. Big Discord and Telegram communities are a massive green flag when it comes to investing in projects. But just keep in mind, when you're trying to find 50x's, 100x's, you're not actually trying to find the mainstream low caps, you're rather trying to find projects with a solid community to act as the foundation for future growth. So don't think just because a project doesn't have 100,000 Discord members, it's a bad project, because you may be in the super early stages of that project. What I'm looking for is that it has a solid basis of maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people that are highly engaged in that group, and you can join it to check it out, rather than having 25 members and literally no one talking about it. You're more so trying to avoid the wrong things than go for the right things at this stage in low cap investing. But you still want that really strong core loyal base that is following the token, talking about the token, because that is essentially the launch pad for a token to gain even more community members, because of the way crypto works and social media works with the network effect of people talking about a token. So step number 5 is you've done all this research, you've identified the tokens using the steps I outlined, you've watched the AMAs, you've checked out the team, you like the team, you like the tokenomics, it doesn't look predatory, the unlock schedule's all good, and they've got a strong community. Now it's time to buy. After you've run through this checklist, most tokens, by the way, will not make it through this checklist. If I love crypto gaming and I find 10 low cap crypto gaming coins, odds are 8 or 9 of them aren't making it through this checklist. So don't expect every coin to pass this checklist. That's okay. You're trying though to do your best to filter out to find the best low caps in the market. Once you've decided, okay, I really like this low cap, it's time to buy, I'm ready to go, how do you actually approach this? Well, what I like to do is implement the dollar cost averaging method, but are more of an adaptive DCAing in the sense that I'll go more aggressive on extreme red days. So traditional DCAing might be, look, I'm going to put $100 every single month into this token for the next year. What I prefer to do is do it manually, but go more aggressive on red days. So if a token pulls back 30, 40, 50%, that's when I'll go in with bigger size. And when it's pumping, I'll go in with smaller size, or maybe I'll even take profits on my principal positions. So the best way to do this is actually to have a watch list with all the tokens that you want to accumulate and all the low caps that you want to accumulate. I like to use TradingView to do so, because then when you notice one is down 10, 20% on the day, that is actually when you can up your DCAing amount and scoop up that investment. So having a watch list and having all these tokens there and waiting for red days is a great strategy in my opinion. And in conjunction with that, you can just average into that token over time. But if you feel like FOMOing, so if you found a project and you love it, you think it's great, it's got momentum, and you don't want to miss out on it, there's actually nothing wrong with getting a 20 to 30% principal position in. Sometimes I'll put in an initial size of even up to 30, 40% just to kill the FOMO. Because there's nothing worse than loving a token, but not investing in it and seeing it run up in price. Then that makes you prone to actually FOMOing in at a higher price, which is really bad. So to actually kill the chance of FOMO, what I'll do is I'll get a 20 or 30% position size in, maybe even a bit prematurely, and then I'll average the next 70 to 80% in over time. It might be over the next few weeks, over the next few months, until I get my ideal position size. So that's how I would buy. And of course, if you do want to buy any crypto, you're going to need an exchange that has a lot of the small and the mid caps listed. BitGet is an exchange that I've experienced have really fast listing times. So often when there's a new hot coin, BitGet is one of the first exchanges to get it up and list it. So if you do need an exchange to trade these kinds of coins on, you can use the link in the description to sign up for a BitGet account. And right now is amazing because they have their Advent promo running for another 2 days. And also, if you missed that, they have a $1,000 welcome pack, which is the current promotion. If you're watching this though in a couple of weeks, we're going to try and roll out some new promotions for users of the Miles Deutsche link, and I will update the terms of that in the description. So whatever the current promo says in the description right now, that is going to be the live one that you'll get access to when you are watching this video. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And remember that over the next couple of weeks, I have some amazing content planned to be uploaded on this channel. Can't wait to release those videos, but hopefully in the meantime, this guide serves you well when it comes to finding low caps in the crypto market that have explosive potential. Thanks for all the support on the channel recently. We've been absolutely exploding. I love seeing the community growing. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a lovely rest of your day. Peace out.